All right, well, welcome everybody to Kinneck's Maximizing Your Trade Show Impact webinar. I saw that we did have a few people who are on the line. I'm sure there might be some joining in a little bit, but we're going to try and keep everything moving and on time. So I did want to get ourselves rolling here. I wanted to introduce myself. So I am Ross Goldman. There's me right there. I am the Director of Sales here at Kinnek. And really quickly, for anybody who doesn't know or needs a quick refresher of who Kinnek is. So Kinnek is helping B2B suppliers showcase their reputation to prospective customers by creating a beautiful, robust third-party online presence and delivering reputation information to customers when they need it most. So you'll get a little bit of a glimpse of that as we get into the webinar here today, but wanted to kind of kick things off just by saying, in terms of the topic of today's webinar. So as we all know, trade show season is kind of underway and even getting into even more of a full swing. So many of you have either been to trade shows already or are preparing for and attending these shows in the coming months nonstop. And so we wanted to talk today about really how to maximize the trade show impact that it can have on your business. So let's hop into the agenda for today. We're going to cover a few different topics. The first one that we're going to go into is what is going on in a buyer's mind currently today before they actually move forward with a purchase, how you can get found online, how to build trust using third-party sources, and then finally, how to proactively use those third-party sources to convert them into sales. Well, I do want to note before we move on to our first topic, there's the chat box on the right-hand side of the screen. If you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to ask them. We're going to basically address all the questions at the end, so we are leaving time for questions. If you have anything throughout that you don't want to forget, that you want to throw in there, please be sure to do so, and we will get to that at the end of the presentation. Okay, so first question that we're going to ask is, why do you guys go to trade shows, right? Why do suppliers feel the need to be at these trade shows? And there's lots of them, as we know. And there's really three main reasons why our customers and even suppliers that we don't work with attend these shows. So the first one is networking. You know a bunch of people that are there, you want to catch up with them, you want to see them, you want to talk to other people in the industry and, see how things are going for them. Pretty standard stuff. The second one, brand awareness, getting your name out there, making sure that people know you in the industry, exposing yourself to, new people as well within the industry. But ultimately, as we probably can all attest, the number one reason why you guys go to trade shows is to acquire new business and make some sales. So let's take a look at your sales flow. You put a lot of time and money into getting contacts at these trade shows and following up with them. And so ultimately, you want to maximize the ROI on your expenditure. However, only a small percentage actually do convert. You can see there, only 5 to 10% of trade show leads ultimately convert into customers. And so given how much you're investing, how can you improve that conversion funnel, right? And why aren't your leads converting? And the problem that we have seen is where you see this question mark here, there's kind of like this black box of what buyers are doing between the time of your first contact and when they ultimately would convert. So like we said, you put so much work into engaging with these contacts, why is it not working as much as you ideally would want it to? So one of the things we're going to try to do today is try and demystify this little black box here. And the truth is that it's really not all that mysterious. what these prospects are doing in that phase is they're doing online research. And they're probably not Googling just you, but every other supplier that they met at the show. And the numbers really speak for themselves, because 94% of B2B buyers do online research prior to moving forward with a purchase. So a pretty staggering number in terms of how many of these buyers are going online and doing research prior to purchasing an item or working with a company. So the question then is, if buyers are doing so much of this research, what are the questions that they're ultimately trying to answer? And depending on where they are in the buying cycle, here are a few things that we have found they're likely to be thinking about. So what are their peers saying about this potential supplier? I need to make sure that this supplier is reputable. They might be worried that this supplier won't deliver as promised. And then, can they count on this supplier also beyond just the purchasing process? You know, after they've come on board with this person, what does the post-purchase look like? And if you guys have noticed, there really is a pattern here, and that is that these are all questions that you cannot answer yourself. The buyer just isn't going to take your word for it. You know, case in point is, you guys all have websites, and I'm sure they do their very best in explaining to someone that you're the best in the business, or you're the absolute best in the industry at what you do, but your competition also has a website that's saying the exact same thing. And so the buyer doesn't really know who to trust. And even worse, there's cases where they maybe don't trust either of you. And when it comes to, you know, what people feel about the information they're finding on a supplier's website, only 37% of B2B buyers who conduct this research and they get to a supplier's website feel that it's the most helpful tool. So obviously leaves a lot of room for people looking for other information in order to, you know, trust who they're going to work with. Which leads us to buyers trusting third-party sources more than they do of you. And I don't mean you personally, but more so of the information they're finding on your website. So on average, buyers use about 5 sources of information when researching a vendor. They probably still will visit your website. That'll be one of the 5. But they are also looking for recommendations from their peers and proof of legitimacy of the business. So as we all know, the internet has exponentially increased the types and amount of third-party resources available for people and at people's disposal. And truthfully, buyers have always looked for third-party verification. However, in the past, that was primarily all word of mouth, right? So everyone knows that word of mouth is and has been one of the most valuable ways of securing new business, no doubt about that. And what this looks like at a trade show, as we tie things back to that, is, you know, someone getting a one-to-one recommendation, right? They're talking to someone that may have worked with you. Maybe they go home and they call somebody in the industry to try to get, a recommendation or get some advice. But again, that's a one-to-one relationship. Nowadays, which you see on the other side of the screen here, a person has exponentially more formats to do research. And one person has exponentially more impact on other customers, right? So one person puts something on a forum that could be read by hundreds of people and is accessible for years, which is clearly a much different scenario than the word of mouth one we just discussed. So at a trade show nowadays, people are going to go to your show. They're going to look you up, whether it's at the show, on their phone, or in their room on their computer, or even when they get home and get back to their office. And they're also going to do that for the other vendors that they met as well. And what they're going to find is multiple ways to to kind of understand information about your business, whether it's forums, reviews, product videos, articles. There's just a myriad of things that people can find and research to get more information about you. That said, all of those are trumped by reviews. Reviews are absolutely the most important of all of these methods. And you don't have to just take my word for it. 70% of these buyers ranked customer reviews to be the top generator of trust. So with that said, everyone, if you take one thing away from this webinar today, and I hope you take more, if you do take one thing away, just know that online reviews and testimonials are the new word of mouth. And the good thing is that you actually have more control of what a buyer can find online than through word of mouth. And today we're actually going to talk about how Kinnek is going to create this third-party online word of mouth machine to help you increase your trade show ROI. So the first question that we're going to tackle here is, how do your customers find you, right? So let's go back to the beginning that we talked about in terms of the buying cycle. How are buyers finding you online today, and what are they seeing? So we could take a look at a typical search result prior to a customer working with Kinnek. So Diversified Conveyors, they're a Kinnek client now, but they signed up for a number of reasons, but one of them was they wanted to improve their web presence. And you could see here on their Google results, there's a lot of common materials that come up for someone that doesn't have this really good third-party presence. Of course, your website is always going to be, or typically should be, the first result that comes up on Google. And then you're obviously going to see some social media sites, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook in this case. Even some job listing sites like Glassdoor and Indeed came up. And then there's like some directory listings, like I think it's a Bloomberg listing, but it's showing just kind of like company contact information. When I kind of click to the next slide here though, what you're gonna see is if we take out everything that's not relevant, you're left with very few useful links and sources to find information out about this business, right? So that's pretty simple. The last things remaining are the website and the social media sites, the Facebook and the LinkedIn. Nothing else is really that impactful and beneficial to someone looking you up. Now we can take a look at a recent client and the effect that Kinnek has had on them. So this is Element Machinery. So they're a client that's been with us for a little while. And again, you go through the search results. Website is what comes up first. That looks good. You see their LinkedIn once again. You even see like a industry publication, and there you see Kinnek. So all of this is really good, right? It's helpful for the buyer to see a variety of sources in addition to your website, like we've talked about. And when we talk about LinkedIn, Facebook, social media in general, that's kind of a low effort, free way of getting some third-party presence. However, it's not as reputable for B2B businesses necessarily. And then also, you get some good news coverage. That's never a bad thing either. But as the buyer, you don't get useful information third-party wise really until you hit that Kinnek link right there. And you can also see as we move over to the business card section where you have like their photos and the map and stuff like that, you see that Google has indexed Element Machinery's Kinnek, Google, and Facebook reviews. So this looks great to buyers. Multiple review sources clearly are better than one. Some businesses actually, though, when it comes to Google reviews in particular, we've experienced that they've had numerous bad reviews left about them. And when you actually click in, Element Machinery is fortunately not one of those. But when you click into some of these companies that have had 2 stars or what have you, you don't really see any content when you click in. Someone has gone on there, left a couple of stars, and they're not credible whatsoever. And so by making sure that your Kinnek and Facebook reviews show up, You show real reviews from real buyers that override any kind of non-credible reviews that have been left. Okay, so how could Kinnek specifically impact your visibility? Well, there's a couple of ways here. The first thing that's worth noting is, and we kind of just talked about this, the B2B world as a whole really kind of lacks content in general when people are doing research online. And on the flip side, Google loves the content that is contained within Kinnek profiles. So that's helpful on many accounts there. And then a Kinnek profile really gives you additional visibility because we will always have that relatively high search result for when people are looking for you. So in short, it boils down to a couple of things. Every additional bit of high quality and relevant information will help you disproportionately. And we, Kinnek, will probably be the highest ranking third-party information that's relevant for you. So just before we move on, I wanted to give a quick little tip here regarding SEO. So just to be clear, Kinnek, we are not an SEO company, but as we just mentioned, we do have very good SEO with Google because they like the content that we have on our profiles. If you're looking to improve your SEO or kind of just want more information about it, this is a good source, this link right here. And at the end of this webinar, we are going to be sending out a recording after. So feel free to come back, reference this slide, go to this link to learn a little bit more about SEO as a whole. All right, so we've just talked about how to get found. Let's dive a little bit deeper now into how to make your content rich and compelling in order to build trust and credibility with these third-party sources. So we talked first about demonstrating your company's legitimacy. All right, so first thing that buyers want to do is make sure that you're a credible business within the industry and you're reputable to work with. Now, obviously, you're attending a trade show. That does go a long way. They obviously would imagine you're not going to be at this trade show if you're not credible within the industry. But this also, it goes a long way when they are doing that research like we know they're doing to just continue to validate that. So, how do you show that you're reputable and credible? Well, you can do this by displaying news articles, industry certifications and affiliations, recent sales that you've made, any industry awards that you might have received. And these help to show indisputable evidence that you're the real deal. You obviously adhere to a very high standard. Not to mention, this is pretty low-hanging fruit because you probably already have a bunch of this collateral, so it's easy and fast to assemble. You can, and you probably should, put this on your website as well, but it will look that much better on a third-party site, obviously far more objective. And where Kinnek comes in is we help to consolidate all this information into one place, right? So putting this on your website also might take a little bit more time, but by utilizing Kinnek, you can upload this stuff in just a few minutes, so you're ready to share it at your next trade show, whether before, at, or after. And again, when we talk about industry credibility and we talk specifically about awards, some people will tell us sometimes like, oh, I don't have any, like, is that a bad thing? And truthfully, it's okay, right? It's a bonus. It's not a deal breaker. Obviously, it can add a little bit more oomph and a little bit more credibility, but it's really not something that is like make or break. But again, if you want to learn more about kind of what the awards might be in your industry or how to go about applying for some and what that looks like, take a look at some of these links. Once again, they'll be in the recording that we're going to send out. So feel free to refer to these after today. So moving forward is your part two of this is your reviews. And the question is, what actually makes an effective B2B review? And two main things that we're going to discuss here are the fact that identity matters and really that it's quality over quantity. So when we talk about identity matters, B2B buyers care a lot more about who the reviewer is and who wrote the review and what is the reviewer's relationship to the supplier, as long as, as well as, is this reviewer, just a real business? They actually do what they say they do. When it comes to quality over quantity, B2B reviews, they don't rely on the high volume the same way that consumer reviews do. Rather, they're really looking for in-depth reviews by reputable business owners. So we dive into identity matters a little bit further. So B2B purchases are typically a lot larger with a lot more moving pieces, as you guys all know, right? So buyers want to hear from people like them who know what it's like to make these type of decisions and who have made these type of decisions. And so verified reviews are the most powerful reviews that you can have, right? So their verified reviews are beneficial to both you and the buyer for a number of reasons. Buyers trust verified reviews more. They know that it's from a real business owner who made a real purchase. Verified reviews can actually help to override any of those bad reviews that you may have received. Let's say it was, like those Google reviews when someone just gave you a couple of bad negative stars. This can help to override that. And then verified reviewers are also more likely to leave you a positive review. They've worked with you. They know how good the experience is. They're willing to kind of share their story. So it's really a win-win in all of those facets. When we dig into quality over quantity a little bit more, another thing to note is, not only are B2B purchases typically a little bit more expensive, they also have longer sales cycles more often than not. And so you couple that with the fact that it might be a little bit more expensive, that means there's a little bit more risk to the potential buyer. And so information strictly about a product is not enough. These buyers want to know about the relationship between the buyer and the supplier. Your review should not only reflect the quality of work, but ultimately the quality of your service. And so a really detailed review could also have photos and videos of the product and installation process, information about your after-sales service, whether that be repairs or maintenance, any sort of customer service, your shipping speed and the quality, as well as potentially any financing options that you might provide. So if we dive into an example here, this is actually what a review on a Kinnek profile looks like. And I want to point out a couple of things. So you could see up top, it's a verified review. This is a verified customer since 2017. And if you ask, how do we make sure that it is a verified review? So Kinnek actually does this by verifying documentation that we get provided by either the buyer or the supplier, which could be a purchase order or a receipt, but something to show that business was done between the two parties. And when you dive a little bit deeper into the review, a couple of things that you notice. So it focuses on customer engagement and service. You can clearly tell what has been purchased. You could see what services that Bridgetown Brew Systems, who this review is for, provided to the buyer. And even Lauren, who's the owner of Bridgetown Brew, posts a nice reply as well. So you could even see that there's that customer engagement taking place after the sale. So just a lot of great content on these reviews that go a long way to, ensuring that a prospective buyer understands what you're all about when it comes to working with your clients. Okay, so everyone agrees reviews are really important. How do we get these testimonials? And you might think that it's a long-term game, but actually, and this is where it really comes in handy for trade shows, you can do this pretty fast. Studies show that customers are actually willing to give you a testimonial of some sort, especially if they have a good experience with you. And almost 60% are willing to write an online review for you. They want to show their appreciation for your hard work, right? And they really want to help out, a fellow business owner or a fellow business person, whatever it might be. So when we talk about that it's actually pretty fast to collect these testimonials, you really should get this done as soon as possible. So say you're leaving for a trade show in a few days. Maybe you're leaving tomorrow. you can actually get reviews while you're on the trade show floor. We have customers that have done this. Trade shows are actually a great opportunity to meet up with happy, loyal customers of yours. And should you see a customer that you know likes you, that you've done maybe numerous amounts of work with, you can ask them for a review on the spot. They can write it on an iPad, or you can email them a link. And it's just really effective in the moment. On the flip side, you can actually make a list of your loyal customers and shoot them an email or a call today as soon as possible, like I said, and you can probably get a few great reviews within less than a week, which really is all you need. I do want to also note, right, like if any of that sounds daunting, working with Kinnek, we actually can help with this, right? So we will reach out on your behalf. And so you can really be as active or passive as you want when it comes to collecting these reviews. It's just really important to know that this is not something that you should procrastinate on. It's entirely possible to get some great testimonials up before your next show or at your next show in order to showcase to prospective buyers. So finally, we're going to talk about how to proactively use this third-party sources in your sales cycle. So we've talked about creating a passive ongoing presence. So how do you get, how do you proactively get this third-party information into your customers' hands? And this can be done by anticipating your customers' needs, and then you can serve them the information you know they're going to want to look up online. So first and foremost, this should be included, the third-party information, in any of your pre- and post-show outreach, 100%. You also can and probably should print out materials to hand out to your customers while at your booth that include third-party material. And then beyond just the third-party material, varying up your content to make sure that you're keeping their interest. So you might already have information like, news articles, some content that you've written, whether it be a blog or something that you've put on your site, and then obviously this third-party verified information. Mix all of those together so that you have a steady flow of interesting content and a mix of the first party and, importantly, the third party information. Finally, you can add an email signature, which is a good way to provide an ongoing open door for people to view this, as well as adding links to your website. And by providing those links, you can somewhat control the flow of information that they're getting. So I want to show a few examples of how Kinnek clients are doing this today. So the first thing that you'll see on the top left, so this is a client that has actually added a badge to their email. They actually work with us on 2 of their businesses, so their email signature has both badges for both of their profiles linked in them. On the bottom left of the screen, you're actually seeing a client that has added a badge to the footer of their website. This can also go at the top of the page, but it's a way to show people that you have these 5-star reviews on a third-party site that they can go and check out. And then finally, on the right-hand side, this is actually an example of a trust report that we generate for you as a Kinnek client. So that's something that, again, from a printed materials perspective, you could take and hand out at a trade show. In terms of post-trade show follow-up, anyone that has a Kinnek profile, a trust report can also integrate seamlessly within your sales cycle. I'll tell you briefly how this works. So you're sending someone an email more than likely to follow up after a trade show takes place. All you need to do is BCC trust@kinnek.com, and the trust report will be sent to that prospect, obviously alongside the initial email that you were sending as well. This way, when you do that follow-up, your prospective buyer is going to get a report from a third party. And it's very similar in a way to a Carfax report when someone is looking to purchase a car. Hopefully that all makes sense. happy to talk more about that with anybody who wants some more information about the trust reports. So we talk about some things to take away from today's webinar. There's a few key facts that we at Kinnek want everyone to walk away having in their mind. So the first one is your potential customers will look you up online. It's an inevitability that's going to happen whether you like it or not. The second is that your own website and Facebook pages or LinkedIn, whatever social pages you want to talk about, those are great. But what really impacts purchase decisions is third-party information. And then finally, reviews and testimonials from your past customers really are the new word of mouth, and they are your most important reputation assets. So we don't want you to just walk away with certain things to keep in mind. We want to try to, give you some action items as well. So inevitably, after a trade show, and maybe even before and during, your company is going to get a spike in Google search volume. As we talked about, people are looking you up. If they know you're going to be there, they might look you up. If they've met you at the show, they're going to look you up. And then they might look you up after as well. So you need to make sure that you have relevant, substantive third-party reputation information showing among the search results, whether it be Google, Bing, whatever anyone's looking you up on. Make collecting reviews from happy customers an urgent priority of yours. Get them online as soon as you can, before, during, after the trade show. And then proactively put your third-party reputation information into the hands of prospects that you meet at trade shows throughout your sales cycle, whether that's print material, email, links on your website like we talked about. All of those are great ways to proactively get that information into your prospects' hands. So that's really the end of the webinar. Just to kind of close out here, I think it's important to note you have worked really hard to earn your reputation. Every single business works hard to earn and maintain their reputation. Make sure that it shines when you need it the most. That's really key. Remember that the trade show itself that you're going to be attending is just the beginning of your engagement with prospects. It's what these prospects find out about you after the show that really pushes them over the finish line. So do your homework and build a robust, trustworthy online reputation, which is the key to maximizing the ROI of your trade show investment. All right, we've come to the end. I want to make sure to thank everybody who attended. I don't see any questions right now, but now would be the time to ask any if you do have them. Just a few kind of housekeeping notes. Like I said, we will be sending out a recording of the webinar afterwards. So if you do want to watch it again, or you want to reference back to some of those links, or even share this internally, you're obviously able to do that. And then if you do want to learn more about Kinnek, how we can help with all of this stuff, there's a couple of ways to connect with us, no pun intended. So you can visit trust.kinnek.com/suppliers for more information, or truthfully, feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is right there. It's rossg@kinnek.com. My phone number is there as well. So I'd be happy to hear from anybody and talk through any questions that you might have or anything you might want to know about Kinnek and how we can help. Other than that, I don't believe we're going to have any questions, so I'm going to stop it there. Again, thank everybody for joining us today. Hopefully this was really helpful, and good luck to everybody when you're at your trade shows this year. Be safe on the road.